One thing that I'm learning more and more, moving to LA and training a lot of people that have just crazy travel schedules and stuff, I'm learning more because I'd always read it, but I think sometimes I'm somebody that has to experience things to really see the value in it. Like I learn from reading, but I learn more from my experiences and stuff. But people that have crazy life schedules, they all, people say stress is stress. It doesn't matter if it's physical stress from exercising or the stress of a breakup or the stress of whatever, like stress is stress. And I think that people that live a really crazy life as far as traveling, staying up late and stuff, you actually can get overtrained on very little training because I think they're kind of almost at their like stress threshold without even exercising.
Yep.
So I do think I've actually become, the longer I train clients, the easier I've become as a trainer because I've realized that, our mantra, I give every new client the same spiel. I'll tell you right now. But I tell them after we do our intake, I start every client with 3 questions. And it's your previous training history, your injury history, and your goals. And the goals and injury history are the 2 most important to me to develop a program. Past training history just gives me an idea of what they like, where they're at. Because I think you have to meet new people where they're at. If you come in guns a-blazing with somebody that hasn't worked out much, they're going to hate it. And I think if you go too easy on someone that is hardcore, they're not going to like it. So the past training history just gives me a little insight into their mentality and what they've done and stuff. But really, all I care about is injury history and goals when I get a new client. And that pays no mind to their job. It doesn't matter if they're an athlete, an entertainer, a accountant. I think if you know those 2 things, you can do a pretty good job getting a program going. We do a little bit of a movement screen, which is sort of a spin off the functional movement screen. It's like the FMS with a couple other things I do. We don't have to get into all of it. And then we train. But in the beginning spiel, I tell them all, I'm not the hardest trainer. That's by design. I'd rather you leave today feeling like I was too easy rather than too hard. I could smoke you today, but there's no point. And our mantra is it should be 7 out of 10 hard.
Yeah.
So, and that applies to each set, and that applies to the overall workout. So
I like that.
I want you leaving feeling every single set like you could have done a little more. Now, the caveat to that, so this is where social media can be misleading because they talk about social media being a highlight reel, and I think it is to a degree. It kind of is with me at least. Like, I'm not posting my athletes just doing like a run-of-the-mill set. I'm posting their top set. So every once in a while, we'll go like to 9 out of 10 hard or sometimes to failure, but usually it's 7 out of 10 hard. So the level you see people push in my videos, we typically train a little below that. And then like kind of like every once in a while we push a little harder. But I always tell guys and women, it doesn't matter if it's athletes, non-athletes, the workout should feel 7 out of 10 hard as far as like when you get in your car, you're fine to go about your day. And each set should be 7 out of 10 hard. Because I think that last little push, there's very little, unless you're trying to just train for like just pure muscle mass or pure strength, I think like that last little strain is where injuries happen, where you get whatever. And so we tend to, that's the whole spiel. It's like think 7 out of 10, and that's,
I like that.
That's kind
I
of
love a good old fashioned RPE scale.
Yeah,
not enough people take advantage of that,
and that's where we live. And then some days, if they're smoked, it could be 5 out of 10 on that day. And then every once in a while, we test. And I actually test more with people that I can just tell don't push themselves, because everybody's 7 out of 10 is different. That's the interesting part about that. Some people that have that military mindset, their 7 out of 10 is still pretty fucking hard. Some people, they're 7 out of 10. As somebody who's trained hard, I'm like, dude, you had like 15 reps in the tank and you stopped. So the people that don't push themselves, I'll encourage them to push a little harder, and we'll test more often just to, like if I know, for example, because I'm a person, I don't switch up the exercises too often. So say we're doing a rear foot elevated split squat and they're doing 50-pound dumbbells in each hand, but I know they could do more. We'll test and then kind of be like, cat's out of the bag, dude. I saw you do 75. Like, you're fucked. Like now we, that type of thing. But people that tend to push themselves too hard, I tell them stay in that 7 out of 10. I know you could do more, but there's no point.
Yep. I love it. Yes, that's also a cheat code for group classes where you can't always switch the weight as much. You just like, I tell people, okay, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and then one guy will get 6 reps, one guy will get 20, but you're still getting your stimulating reps.
Yeah.
Like you're all getting to the same point. And now what we know, especially when it comes to hypertrophy, like back when we're talking about our blog days, it was still like these certain rep ranges. And now it's like, hey, if you get 5 stimulating reps, you're good. Yeah. Whether that's a 5 rep max or 15, 20, it really doesn't matter. So that's for anybody out there who runs group classes, that's a cheat code because it's really hard to always constantly switch the weight.
Well, I like that stuff too because so even under the umbrella of basketball players, I'm sure you get this all the time, but if you don't, whatever. I like this stuff because we're talking to the listeners, but I'm just talking shop with you. But one thing that I've noticed training more NBA guys, when people ask me, what do you do for basketball guys? I've realized that it's so like under the umbrella of basketball, the guys it's very different what they do. Because, this summer, for example, I have a guy that's 37 and a guy that's 21. That's like a totally different situation, and I actually have one guy that's 21, one guy that's 22. The guy that's 21 is pretty big. The guy that's 22 is skinny. And then you have people that are all banged up from years of playing, 16 extra years on you. That changes your training program. So if you said to me, what do you do with basketball guys? I'd be like, that's a tough answer. Yeah. In the sense of like, the other thing that I don't think people always realize is I think people when they think like, because you probably train some true like superstar players and then some like middle of the road guys and some probably younger guys. The superstars aren't always gym superstars, and that's the other thing you have to realize. So that's why those 3 questions that I have, goals, injury history, matters so much because I remember when I first started training, thinking I used to train hockey and football, but I trained a couple really high level NHL players. Some of them were good in the gym, some of them weren't, and same in basketball and in anything. And you kind of have to meet people where they're at and not have it in your head. This guy's a basketball superstar, but in the gym he might not be. Yep. And also those superstars have a lot of mileage on their body. So some of those guys actually, it's dialed back from some of the younger guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
some of those guys, the younger guys, don't get minutes throughout the season, so they're actually super fresh year round.
Exactly.
They're ready to train hard.